For 5 seasons, former ETSU head coach Steve Forbes came down this tunnel and then walked all the way across to the bench on the far side with current ETSU head coach Brooks Savage by his side. But tonight, Forbes will be on the visitors bench and his former assistant will now be his opponent. We begin tonight with the latest on the story we brought you first as breaking news at WCYB.com. Virginia Tech confirming just moments ago that James Franklin is its next head football coach. Franklin has had previous head coaching stops at Vanderbilt and Penn State. The Nittany Lions fired Franklin after a 3-3 start to this season. To note, big surprise, the Tennessee men are the #2 team in the Midwest region. They will face Wofford, the champions of the Southern Conference, in Thursday's opening round. This quadrant of the region is loaded with Blue Bloods. #7 seed UCLA awaits Tennessee as a possible second-round matchup, and possibly waiting for them in the Sweet 16 if Tennessee survives to the second weekend of the tournament. It's our old friends from Kentucky. Houston is the #1 seed in the Midwest. Hello, friends. It's Thursday night, which means it's time to get you ready for all the Friday night football action. There are some really interesting games on the schedule tomorrow night, including some fascinating crossover games from the two states, including our Friday night rivals game of the week between Daniel Boone and Union. In Victory Lane with Food City 500 winner Kyle Larson. Kyle, it feels like this is deja vu. We just did this yesterday. Why do you think it is that you've been able to just unlock the key to this place and just dominate 3 of the last 4 races you've run here?
You, in a very short time, have gotten this program kind of back to ETSU. The attendance, the regular season wins. The next step seems to be now the postseason. I know that's really hard in the Southern Conference because there's so many good teams, but what do you feel like this team needs to do to take that next step?
It's a great question.
You're on this field now. You had a chance to look around from a coach, manager, player standpoint. What are the challenges of this going to be for these players?
It was overshadowed by the bracket-busting chaos that was the rest of the race. This big wreck in Stage 2 took out many of the heavy hitters in the sport's first ever in-season tournament. Let's take a look at what the bracket looks like after round 1. The biggest upset, and I talked about the possibility with this, is with Chris Carrier on the Backstretch podcast. Denny Hamlin, the top seed, caught up in that big wreck. He is eliminated. 32nd seeded Ty Dillon moves on.
The play looked innocent enough. Mark Bonacante, number 59 in white for the Citadel, coming in on this first quarter tackle. But his head struck the artificial turf wrong, and it caused a severe neck injury.
I'm walking around looking, and I look over there, and, you know, I said, this is where it happened. And I think back to how the whole process took place. He was laying down over there. I was over here. I was literally right here, kneeling down on the sideline. And Jim, one of the trainers, came over and grabbed the spine board and said, I think he's paralyzed.
When was the last time you were in the Mini Dome?
It's been about 5 years.
What goes through your mind when you walk in here?
The incident with Mark Bonacante when we played the Citadel here goes to my mind all the time.
For Herman Jacobs, October 26, 1985 is a day he doesn't really remember, but can't really forget.
I don't remember that game after Mark got hurt. I don't. I didn't find out that what the score was because we ended up losing, I believe. And I found out the next day when I was going to the cafeteria.
Jacobs was a running back for the ETSU football team, went on what seemed to be just another football play.
It was an option to the right. And I got the ball. I went. And next thing you know, I was up in the air and Mark hit me.
He, of course, is medicated and in traction due to the nature of his injury. He is able to communicate with his family and physicians and nurses who are attending him. He has some paralysis, but the full extent of his paralysis has not yet been determined, and that these type injuries take sometimes to evaluate.
I wasn't going to play football again. I told a couple of people I was done, and you can ask some of the coaches, ask some of the players. I played my senior year, but they knew I wasn't playing to my potential.
For nearly 20 years, Jacobs carried the guilt of what happened that day.
In my mind, it was telling me, you know, this is going to happen again.
Until a phone call from a teammate of Bonacotti's changed his life.
Joel Thompson is a player of the Citadel with Mark, and he reached out to me and gave me Mark's phone number. And about 2 or 3 days later, I called Mark because I was really concerned that his family blamed me for what happened. He explained to me that, no, they didn't blame me. It wasn't my fault.
That meeting led to a friendship and Jacobs' involvement in the Miami Project to Cure Paralysis, which began as a promise from Mark's father, Nick, a former NFL player, that Mark would someday walk again.
Sometimes you think about this, and I've heard it before from other people, you know, you really don't know what someone would have been in their life if they did not have these spinal cord injuries. Mark's a case where, boy, you know, I wish he had not had his spinal cord injury, but because he had his spinal cord injury, he's done so much good to the field.
I want to be there for him and support everything that goes on because they're doing a great job. They're doing a great job with the research and everything.
Years later, the Miami Project has become a testament to the Bonacotti family's perseverance and strength.
One of the major sparks was that this young man who had a football injury, his father was well known. His notoriety, his passion for a cure for his son, not just his son, but everyone living with spinal cord injury, was a major contributor to our success at that very early time period, when so much science had to be done and there were so many questions.
And for Jacobs, whose life was also changed 40 years ago, it's a way to help his friend and continue to heal.
A great friendship, a connection. Mark helping me to heal through, it was about 20 years, you know, of guilt I held with myself. And Mark, you know, talking to him helping me, him being there for me.
This week on the Saturday Night Blitz, we have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. The Tennessee football team playing host to New Mexico State. The Southwest Virginia Bowl gets chippy, and the ETSU women get to work. The Saturday Night Blitz starts now. I love this time of year. We're at the crossroads of fall and winter sports, and the Blitz is jam-packed. We have lots of college football tonight as Tennessee and Virginia Tech were both in action, and one of the best rivalries in the area, the Southwest Virginia Bowl between Emory and UVA-Wise. ETSU women's basketball team was at home against Claflin, and we have playoff state volleyball.
This segment is sponsored by Food City, the official supermarket of the Vols.
We start in Knoxville, where it was homecoming for the Tennessee Vols. UT playing host to New Mexico State, a team that's at the bottom of Conference USA, which meant it should be a quick day at the office for the Vols, and it was for the most part. Already up 7-0, Tennessee adds the lead. Joey Aguilar goes 22 yards and a touch, makes it 14-0. Tennessee make it 21-0 when Aguilar hits Braylon Staley, 15-yard touchdown, finished up a 99-yard drive, and the defense was stingy as well. At times,
times Coach Heupel says even maybe carrying the offense a little bit. 42-9 is the final. It wasn't perfect, but it was a win.
There was a day where offensively, you know, we weren't on edge at practice, and it's a fine line when you get to game day. It doesn't just happen. I said that to him in the locker room too, and at the same time, it's not necessarily going to be perfect.
The Virginia Tech football team taking on Florida State in Tallahassee. This was a nail-biter early. Tech down 3-0 when Kyron Drones gets the 4-yard touchdown run, makes it 7-3 Hokies. But the Seminoles took over from that point on. Rattling off 21 straight points, Deuce Robinson hauling in a 50-yard touchdown strike from Tommy Castellanos. Florida State rolls 34-14. Appalachian State football team lost big on the road, 58-10 to James Madison. The loss ends the Mountaineers' hopes of making a bowl game this series. As bitter as the Southwest Virginia Bowl rivalry has become, it is crazy to think the series has only been around for about 30 years. This season, Emory and Henry making the trip up the mountain to take on UVA Wise. The Wasp up 35-13 at the half, and Emory would keep rolling. Jordan Jackson takes a direct snap and goes into the end zone to extend Emory's lead. Then the Wasp and Jackson again. This time, he takes the handoff, finding a hole and outruns the defenders to the end zone for the score. And Emory, well, they just keep doing Emory-type things. Putting the icing on the cake when Cam Peoples takes the ball for the sweep, can't find the hole, reverses back the other way, and then he finds the end zone. Emory and Henry wins the Southwest Virginia Bowl 70-13.
The most disappointing thing is, you know, the amount of penalties on both sides. That's not the Emory way. You know, we definitely got to go fix that. I mean, that's what we have to do. So again, our kids play well. They executed.
Tusculum ends its season with a 26-0 loss to Carson Newman. The Pioneers end the year with a 1-9 record. So we've made it through all the football. Now it's time to head indoors for some state volleyball and some basketball. The ETSU women were still in search of their first win of the season. Straight to it, the ETSU women at home taking on Division II Claflin. ETSU gets a strong start at both ends. Emma McCamus knocks down the three. The Bucks scored the first 11 points of the game. ETSU continues to build the lead. Lucy Hood opens up the top of the key, and she hits from beyond the arc. The Bucks suffocated the Panthers for all 40 minutes. Elena Nelson pokes the ball free, and she takes it into the hoop and the harm. Bucks up 41-14 at the break, and it was just more of the same in the second half. ETSU goes on to win their first win of the year, 69-31. The win, though it was against a D2 school, was the first win of the year for the Buck women. State Line sports reporter Josh Whitman has a report from Johnson City.
Heather, it was a complete team effort for ETSU. The Bucks are nearly back to full strength, and you could tell based on the way the on-court product looked. Obviously, you're going to be better when you have your best players available, but just having depth, extra bodies on the bench means that the defensive intensity that ETSU likes to play with won't dissipate in the second half.
That's the ETSU defense that we've had the past 3 seasons. I know it hasn't shown up in our games thus far, but the single-digit quarters and, you know, really bearing down and ball pressuring and communicating, and I think it can be better than what it was tonight. You know, and it's good. We're playing against the next level team. It's going to have to be better to get those kinds of stops, but that's what we need to see going forward in the half court.
I mean, I think we're pretty much right there. I mean, there's a few small things that we still have to work on, as every team does. But I feel like we have the intensity, we have the energy, we have the pieces.
After a tough start to the season, we're starting to see what this ETSU team will look like, and it figures to only get better as they continue to build on-court chemistry. Reporting from Johnson City, Tennessee, Josh Whitman for the State Line Sports Zone.
Virginia Tech women moved to 4-0 on the season after an 82-59 win over Coastal Carolina this afternoon. VHSL volleyball quarterfinals, Chilhowie looking to join Abingdon and John Battle in Tuesday's semis. The Warriors had their hands full with 6-time defending state champs Auburn. Brooklyn Minkowitz serves up the ace. Next time around, the Warriors would be ready. They get the perfect set to Nia Hastings
for the kill, but the Eagles were too tough. Chilhowie gets a good set and a shot at the net, but Alina Alley and Ruby George sent it right back where it came from. Auburn wins in straight sets 3-0. It was a supersized day with more than we could fit into one show tonight. If you missed our coverage of ETSU football or maybe ETSU basketball or the other state volleyball quarterfinals at 6, you can find them all at our website. That is WCYB.com.